Hey, what's going on, sir? Just wanted to say I appreciate you having me on, bud.
Of course, of course. We're gonna talk about Mexico, the crime, and current stuff going on. And
Yeah,
yeah, what's
yeah,
going on?
yeah. Sir, well, if you would like, I could kind of start off with like what's like the biggest pinpoints right now going on in Mexico. You have like a lot of well, obviously, the main war going on. The one that we're hearing about is the one in Sinaloa. Which is between Los Chapitos, El Chapo's, sons. He has like four sons. Two of them have been already captured. The ones that we see here, Ovidio Guzman, the youngest one, they called him El Raton, the mouse, right? They say he resembled like a mouse.
Yeah,
That's the guys here that I don't know if you heard of Culiacanazo, like where they literally shut down the whole capital city of like Sinaloa to let El Chapo's sons go. I don't know if you remember that back in like 2019.
yeah, I do remember that.
Yeah, and they shut down the whole city. They kidnapped military um, operatives, like, and their families. Like commando units. It'd be like if it's crazy. Like imagine if someone here's here like they kidnapped like Delta or a Green Berets like family or something like that. And you don't think of stuff like that here, but
That's
yeah. And then so basically all of that from there they got two of those sons arrested, right? So, and the other one, what the war is going on now is because Joaquin Guzman, the one of El Chapo's, I think it's like his fifth son, he betrayed El Mayo. I don't know if you saw, or I don't know if you saw that here, and he basically they kidnapped him. I don't know if you read that as well, but
yeah,
they
yeah.
yeah, they lured him into a plan. Like they were gonna make like a political sit down here between the governor of Sinaloa, like the active governor. His name is Ruben Mocha. Uh, and yeah, him and this other political figure that he was having some problems with, right? The current governor versus this other guy named his last name was Quinn. And they basically set up they were going to set up like a meeting to where they were going to settle their problems, settle their problems they were having within the government in the next election. So who do they call? They call him Mayo. You would think the biggest crime lord at the time to settle all these big political affairs in Mexico. So he went there thinking that it's the governor, it's all these political guys, they're not going to kidnap me. They're it's all part of nothing's gonna happen. So they use that to lure him there, and then El Chapo's sons and his henchmen grabbed him, tied him up, drugged him, put him on a plane. Had one of their pilots like that would smuggle their drugs. He was known as like El Handito, I believe. And yeah, they kidnapped him, brought him over to the border, and that's where they processed him over to El Paso, Texas. I don't know if you remember that here, where they when El Mayo and Joaquin, El Chapo's son, they were saying that they turned themselves in and all this other stuff, but basically they turned him in order to alleviate some of their illegal problems. The first son, the one that got arrested, and Joaquin, the one that was turning himself in. So it was like, we're gonna turn you in, the most wanted drug lord of the world, for some leeway. And that's what the war started with, and you have the main son right now in Mexico. His name is Ivan Archivaldo. The main the leader of the Chapitos faction. He's the one leading it right now for him. But currently, right now, Sir, it's not looking too good for them. They've had to align themselves. The Chapitos, they've had to align themselves with their former captors, like these guys called. Have you heard of the CJNG?
Yeah, you were telling me about that.
Yeah, they had to align themselves with them because in Sinaloa, everybody. Well, let's say if Los Chapitos had a good control of Los Chapitos in the Chapo faction in Sinaloa, they've always had control of a majority of like the big ports. Let's say like Mazatlan in Culiacan. Those have always been the main ports, and to this day, that's like their last of the stronghold. Like to this day, Mazatlan, Culiacan, and some parts of like rural areas. But the reason they stay onto those parts is because that's where all the money comes in. That's where all the drugs leave the Pacific, and so that's why it's funny here. Like when some people say some people are losing the war or this or that, it's like a war of attrition almost. It's like you're
Yeah.
not going to send 30 men to go defend some post that's only making you so much money. You're going to send them to like wherever the place that's generating you the most money. Like the beach resort towns where tourists come. Um, and so and then the guys on the other side fighting Los Chapitos right now is El Mayo's son, known as Manito Flaco, the youngest. He's one of the youngest. He's not the youngest son, but he's like I think the second or the third youngest son of El Mayo Zambado, the one that they haven't arrested here in the
Okay.
U.S. Yeah,
Yes.
but yeah, see, so that's the main wars we're fighting right now. You have Maito Flaco, and on his side you have this other guy named Chapo Isidro, and this guy, he's been like a thorn he's been a thorn in their boot for like 20 years since El Chapo was back in Mexico fighting like drug wars and stuff. Yeah, he was. This guy's been fighting. He was with the Beltran cartel, with the Beltran Leva cartel, which is like another subdivision of the Sinaloa cartel. And yeah, they have a lot of internal stuff in Sinaloa, but it's gotten to the point soon where like the Sinaloan, like Chapo's faction, like I said, they've had to ask for help and get and when I mean help, logistics, men, money, not so much, but it's more of a manpower. It's kind of crazy. Think about it like this. So you know how we always talk about the wire.
Yeah.
Okay, like, the biggest problem right now that the Chapitos are having, like, do you remember how in like with in season one, like Avon Barksdale's crew, right? They always had really good people at top, but they always had trouble with like middlemen or workers, right, to do their bidding, right? They're
Right.
always like, they had the good people at the top, but they didn't have really like reliable people at the bottom, right? So he's left without men, right? So what he had to do in order to survive, he had to go ask for help from these guys. And the funny part is here, Mencho and and CJNG, they kidnapped this Chapito, the same guys they're helping now. They've kidnapped the both of those Chapo sons, like in 2016 in Puerto Vallarta. So
Oh,
it's like crazy, like everything's like, how can you help me right now?
that's crazy, man. So
Yeah.
where's the cops and all this?
Oh man, okay. Like think about it like this. Like you have your cities in Mexico, right? Like let's say you have your small town city. It also it's crazy as it sounds. It all starts from like the from give me one second real quick. It all starts from like the lower. Sorry, sorry about that
Sorry.
sound, guys.
It's all right.
It all starts with the municipal level, right? City cops and everything like that. Which most of those guys, 80% of them are on the payroll, right? And if they don't get along, they're not going to make the force, right? And a lot of that stuff is controlled. Like the police department here is basically like the enforcement for the cartel for that city. So
Wow.
like let's say like yeah, so like let's say you go to here close to the border. Let's say you go to like Matamoros, Tamaulipas, on that side. Those cops, they're all gonna work or anywhere really. It's all cartel run here. So like let's say that the local police, they're like the lookouts. They're the ones like the ones looking out for people, the one keeping out like foreigners from coming in from to like their land, other sicarios, other, people that they're not familiar with from that area. And then you have your state police, right? And these guys work as like they in order for them to be promoted here, a lot of this stuff it's like systematic corruption. Like you have to play game in order to get promoted and move up in ranks.
Uh,
But yeah, it's gotten to the points here where like U.S. intelligence or any like government or anything, every time they go over there, they won't even deal with like the local cops or anything. They'll deal with like certain parts of like La Marina or with certain like intelligent groups because they don't trust anyone over there because like it's all corrupt. It really is all corrupt here. Basically, in the few good apples that they have, it's like you either have to align yourself or you're gonna get killed. It's either you're gonna get killed or you better keep your mouth shut. You know?
Wow, so they have it on lock right now.
Yeah, and the sad part is it's like the cops and all this other stuff, like they're seen as the enemy in a lot of like the rural areas too, Sierra, and that's why you see a lot of these um like local militias form, right? Like I don't know if you saw like recently, like we were talking with your friend the other time, they killed Carlos Carlos in Urapan, right?
Okay.
Carlos Mazan in Urupan. That's just the main big one, but there's like 10 other ones that have been going on like him. And basically, what happens here, you'll have like these smaller communities in like Michoacan, right? Michoacan's known for avocados, limes, and agriculture. So basically, they'll go there and um, extortion, right? It's if you have a ranch, you're gonna give me 20% of your yield. Um, Period. Right? And that's if you want to keep your ranch. And if not, I'm going to come at the end of the year, take your stuff, take over the ranch, make you sign over the deed, and then, they'll do it to you and take your stuff. So a lot of them just play a game. And the sad part is, after all those years, people get tired. They just get tired of all the abuse. So they'll form militias because they can't trust the police because the
Yeah.
police are the ones enforcing, the rules or the ones extorting them. So they all form together, and then a funny thing happens is that militia turns into like a small little army, and then all of a sudden that army gets corrupted. So it's like a cycle here.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it's like a cycle because they had the exact same happen like in 2007, 2008, 2009, like when the first drug war happened with Felipe Calderon. This is when they had that corrupt Mexican official. His name was Genaro Garcia Luna. That guy at he's in prison right now in New York. He was actually in prison with like P Diddy, that rapper 6ix9ine, the president of Honduras, the one that Trump just pardoned. I don't know
Oh
if you
yeah,
saw that.
yeah.
Yeah, up in they have him up there in Manhattan, up there in that Brooklyn, and the one where El Chapo was at here. You know
Oh
what I'm
okay.
talking about?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, all those guys. So, and then over there, Steer, it's like the political system right now, like Morena, right?
Hmm.
They started the president, the first one, AMLO, Andres Manuel Lopez Obrador, the first one, the one before Claudia Sheinbaum.
Okay.
He had actually run for president before in 2006, 2007, 2008, and he lost Sear because he wasn't corrupted. He lost because he didn't have the cartel's approval. And then he tried it again, right? He was gonna he turned the political system in around like 2012. That's when he made that new political party, Morena, which is like who controls Mexico for like the last 15 years, you know. And basically they did a switcheroo where they had some good talking points. It's just like anything, grassroots organization. So you has the right momentum. Think of like a Carcetti, from The Wire. Like they have really good points, and then somehow they get lost, into
Yeah.
ambition or power or it starts with a good motive. Yeah, and yeah,
So
and then
the
what was that there?
president, right? The
Hmm.
president. So basically, he's compromised.
Yes. There hasn't been an active sitting president in Mexico, sir. And this is like common knowledge, like intelligence, like your American intelligence, anything. It's common knowledge that any sitting president in Mexico has gotten there because they've had links to or have received aid, money, or political aid, in favors and stuff like that from cartels. And it's really like some people think of it here, it's really the simplest thing in the world because think about it like this. Like in the US, we have tons of like forms of revenue, right? Like we
Right.
know that it's tech, medicine, money hand services, there's a lot of other different sectors, oil, there's different ways of money. In
Right.
Mexico, yes, it's don't get me wrong, they have the same, but on a much smaller scale. But the thing in Mexico is drugs are honestly the biggest money producer. It's just
Yeah.
the main thing that brings in more money than anything. So naturally, it's like in anywhere, so wherever the like in whatever country you're at, whatever's bringing you in the most revenue, that's going to be like the one that's going to be deciding, the deciding point. So in Mexico, it's drugs. For us, it's like, money service. Saudi Arabia, it's oil. Colombia is drugs again. But that's the problems here. A lot of people don't see it like that. They just see it like, oh no, since it's drugs, it's not, a real form of money, or they don't see how it could be corrupted. But if it's
Right.
like your only form of revenue, that's their only way of, like, that's all they know, basically.
Well,
And so the president, yeah, like you were saying, sir, to bring it back to what you were saying about how the presidents are corrupt or everything. Um, there's since like I'm talking about since the '70s, like they've been, you know, taking bribes forever, but like bribes that have been recorded by the government and that have been investigated, and some have been let go. They all started with Carlos Salinas Gutierrez, and he was like in 19, I believe it's 1990s, early 1990s. Um, this guy, him and his brother, Raul Salinas, which he ended up later getting caught for embezzling like $88 million. You know, um, yeah, he got caught in like Switzerland. The brother of a Mexican president here got caught in Switzerland trying to like embezzle over like 88 million into another account, and this was like in 2006. But this president from the 1980s, um, Asir, this guy, he basically opened the floodgates. Like, yeah, he opened the flood. He really sold his country out, like, well, in a good and a bad way, right? Because it opened it to foreign investment. So I don't want to say it's bad necessarily for us, here, because like for the Americans benefited business wise,
right.
during that. So that's another reason here. Like they let like a lot of these presidents, like they know they're corrupt, but since they're friendly to they're pro American business, they kind of turn
Yeah.
a blind eye. They're like, okay, like, yeah, you do take these bribes, but you do let us pillage 5 billion in like oil revenue. So, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's like
Yeah.
one of those things. But the problem is here, like, after him, Gutierrez, you had the economy went bad, it collapsed, and then Cepillo, I believe Cepillo, he's the one that inherited. But another very famous corrupt one here is Felipe Calderon. He's the one that started the drug war with the Zetas and all that in 2006. That guy, he was super corrupt too. His number two was that guy I was telling you about, Genaro Garcia Luna, the one that's in prison right now in New York and all that. He was like the basically Mexico's cop, like number one cop. He was supposed to keep the country safe, like in charge of internal security. Basically, the leader of the FBI for us. Here,
Okay.
it'd be like if yeah, this guy would model his whole existence in Mexico after J. Edgar Hoover and try to mimic everything he had, and but made it into the Mexican version. But this guy was corrupt. This guy was blatantly like selling. This guy's here. He was he was the main police in Mexico, right? But he had a band of kidnappers. They would kidnap rich families. He would extort drug dealers. He would bring in drug loads himself from Colombia and pass them to the main city to to the main airport in Mexico City, like that the government controls. They're letting drugs go literally in through that airport, you know, to be
Oh,
smuggled to the United States and a lot of this stuff. And he was known for that guy got through, and he was able to blackmail his way through a lot because he was very, very, very early on to using like, have you ever heard of like Pegasus, like the security software, like for hacking and all that sort of stuff? He was
yeah.
one of the first ones to use like all that software to like spy and surveil people early in like early 2000s, late 2000s. So he had like a black book basically on everybody. So like if you got out of hand, he'd pull out his little files on you. Okay, you want to play? Okay, you do, like, you know what I'm saying? He
Yeah.
he was ready for anyone. So yeah, so it's just like corruption, and then after him, so you had the next president, which was Enrique Peña Nieto. That guy, he got actually the after El Chapo, and he after El Chapo's arrest and all of his people went down. There's several people, El Mayo's brother, even El Mayo's son. A lot of people have written, have signed agreements with the government and confessed that they gave the president of Mexico $250 million at the start of his campaign. Well, not 250 at the start. They gave him like 100 million, and then like when he got reelected, or um, towards the end of his other one, before he actually betrayed El Chapo, they gave him more money. So like they gave him a total of $250 million here in
What?
order for him to turn a blind eye when he was president. Yeah, for him to respect basically the old agreements that Sinaloa cartel, not just the Sinaloa cartel, but the Federation. You know that with all their agreements that they had with the past administration, that they were to be respected. That was their price. Like they all have their price. And
Yeah.
the funny part is here, you would think, oh no, they would make these meetings, they would handle these like discreet, like you would think a hush hush. They would take the money to like Los Pinos, parts of Los Pinos, which is like the White House for Mexico. So imagine if like I don't know, if like this is just hypothetical, right? But let's just say if someone was bribing the U.S. president, they were taking the money to the White House. Like that's how bad and corrupt it was. Like yeah, serious. And now the new president right now, Claudia Sheinbaum, she's having a really interesting time. Like it's gotten so bad for her. Um, Literally, Asir, that they've had to she's had to call the old president. Like AMLO has gotten out of the shadows to come out just to like calm down the people, because like that party is like he's a main spokesperson. Like how right now, like how not to get political, nothing like that, but how Trump is like for conservatives right now. Like he's like their strong man, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
In Mexico, AMLO is for Morena, like the main party right now. He's like their strong man, right? That's who they like voted for, right? They believed in him. So it's going so bad right now in Mexico with the current president. She's having to ask him to come out and like say things to calm the people down, to remind them like, hey, she's with me, you know, she's covered, like, and that's the problem right now. So you're there. It's getting real bad in Mexico because you're having a lot of different uh, rebellions, right? Like wars going on, insurrections, I guess you could call them. A lot of civil stuff that's going on. You're seeing stuff in Mexico that you've never seen before. So you're like, I don't know if you remember that I mentioned to you that they stormed like parts of like the capital, like for Michoacan. They tore that place up, like the capital of where that guy got killed, Carlos, where he got killed at. They tore up
Oh,
that city hall up. They had this big one in the capital of Mexico here, and they tore that up as well. Like it's like um, the newer crowd, like the Gen Z and the younger. Yeah, they're really standing up over there. So it's getting bad. Like
and who
we don't
works?
really see it, you know.
Who's in, like, is it the Sinaloa people doing this stuff, or?
It's interesting here because like whenever there's wars, right? Like let's say right now, like the main war, like as we were talking about, like it was in Sinaloa, but like what they do, a lot of like they'll antagonize each other's turf. So like let's say it's here, I have a plaza, right? I control my plaza. You control your plaza. You want to take over mine, right? But to do that, you're gonna have to bring heat to my territory, right? Because you want to cause problems. You want to bring heat to my territory. Why? Because you want to take over. But to do that, you want to cut off my money supply. By bringing the cops in, I can't do my business. You start killing civilians in my territory, I'm gonna have government around here more. So you have a lot of like foreign entities coming into like to your town, and then they'll like start a bunch of stuff, kill a bunch of civilians, women, children, and do all this stuff, so you get the blame for it because that's your territory. You know
Oh,
what I'm
shit,
saying?
that's
So like
crazy.
yeah, they'll try to make it hot for you in your area to get government like to get like get government surveillance on you, to get it like where they're gonna have to respond because you're killing civilians. You're doing all
Yeah.
this other you're burning stuff buildings. That's why you see in Sinaloa, like all these casinos, they were burning down casinos, restaurants, shopping malls. Like it's crazy. Like imagine just going like outside and you see a whole mall like on fire, or parts of Vegas like on fire. You know, it's like that stuff's like not normal here, but over there it's like a common everyday thing. You know, so here it's like, well, whatever they did, like you know.
That's like worse than what we hear going on in like the Middle East.
Yeah, no, it's and don't get me wrong here, like there are parts of Mexico where it's like it's still calm, quiet and stuff, but right now, they're all fighting for basically like, control for the drug routes and stuff. Up north, like Tijuana, that's why you're seeing a bunch of stuff in like Baja California. Um, and that's why they're saying also not to just talk about like the drug war with the Chapitos and all that stuff, but that's why the CJNG has well, at least that's my theory. You know, that's why they're being so friendly and so they're trying to help the Chapitos to survive. It's not really like because they want them to survive. It's because they want to take what's left of what they have.
Yeah.
Los Chapitos, they still control. They might be losing parts of Sinaloa where they're from, but they still control heavy areas of like TJ, like Tijuana. They still control parts of Hermosillo, like over there in Sonora, like parts of the border, like over there by Arizona and stuff.
Yeah.
Here,
Yeah.
so like yeah, they're starting to. They still own the routes, like they call them generational routes, right? Basically the routes that their dad left for them. That's what they're fighting for. They're trying to take the entry points to the U.S. Right, and that's the agreement. Like, hey, you help us maintain our stuff over here, and we'll share the border with you, right? But it's like you know how it is here. It's like in anything in the crime world. It's like keep your friends closer, but your enemies closer type of thing, right? Like they'll help you to a certain point, but it's really of a they're just trying to help you to do it to you in the future.
Now, is there any Andrangeta Camorra around there?
Oh yeah, for sure. Um,
Any
down
names?
there, the well, at least the one that the famous ones that we know, like the Gomorrah. Like, from the shows and everything, what they're based on,
Yeah.
the Ningreta, basically all the people like from Naples, Sicily, you do see, but the main ones, at least in Mexico, that you see a lot of people are from Naples, and Genoa. But a lot of these guys in ¿cómo se dice? Calabrese, like the Calabria, I believe it's
Yeah.
called.
Collab.
Calabria. Yeah, you see a lot of those guys, of course, established like their drug routes and everything. But main thing that they use in Mexico, a lot of like the gangsters or everything from Europe, Israel, anywhere. They'll use Mexico as like a hiding ground since they know it's like a very corrupt area, and it's also so close to the U.S. So like in case like they'll go to Mexico here. It's crazy. Like they'll go to Mexico to hide out, right? That's how it starts. Oh, I'm gonna go to Mexico. I'm gonna go to Acapulco. I'm gonna go to a resort town. I'm gonna hide out for 3 months. What happens? They stay there. They think, oh, I could start my. You know how it is here. These guys
Yeah.
don't change, right? They go to wherever they go. They start, the same ticks start running. They start. I could start getting something going here. And next thing you know, it's like in Acapulco, the Albanians, Armenians, and some Italians too. They own casinos in Mexico. I mean, they pay they pay their tolls, with the local people. But a lot of these people that are like hiding in Europe, Italy, Spain, or whatever, they'll go to Mexico, or they'll use it like to go down to South America. But Mexico is being used a lot for like hide. Like that's why did you see here that Canadian Olympian that's like wanted for international drug smuggling? I don't
No,
know
I
if you heard
didn't.
about that. No, he was like a former Olympian for Canada, um, and then he turned into a very high-ranking like cartel member for the Sinaloa. He's like one of the FBI's most wanted right now,
Oh,
and all this other stuff. And he's hiding right now in Mexico. And it goes back to what I'm saying. Like, there's a lot of people use it like to hide, and that's what happens. They'll go down there, they'll try to hide, they'll make connections, and then they'll have a lot of interest down there right now. So you're like, you go to a lot of like casinos, um, restaurants, plazas, just businesses. and they can be owned. You do see your Italian crowd down there. Like it's not rare to see Europeans or down there and like those in those nicer areas. And like Guadalajara too. There's like areas like Spanish colonial areas. You just see a bunch of just everybody there is like Italian.
Now, are they respected over there by the cartels?
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong here. It's like, they they are respected, but also see it's like a business thing. They see them as like a connection. Like they know that they have like if they get friendly with them, they'll have like the European ports on well, not ports, but the European connects like to offload their product, right? Because they how the United States is right now, here, like so since they're starting to designate people as like narco terrorists and all this
Yeah,
other stuff, a lot of people are starting to get scared to send their stuff over to the US, right? Not that they're scared, they're still going to send their drugs, but if they can, they'll send it to Europe. Why? I mean, they'll still make a lot more, and they'll sometimes even make a lot more too here because of like the proximity, right? It's little the further the source, the higher the demand and all that. So not
yeah,
only will they get a higher price, they'll avoid the all the implications of like you might be called a terrorist now for being a drug dealer here, or for smuggling drugs in here. So a lot of the times they think, oh no, well we'll just stick with the European market, right? So what do? They get friendly with the people that might have connections down there, and not just not Italians. It could be Spanish people, Eastern Europeans, like in Ukraine. Here, ever since the Ukraine war, you see a lot of like that's what your friend was talking about last time.
yeah,
Yeah, you see a lot of Ukrainian like technology or America or stuff that America let Ukraine use, for defense and all this other stuff. You start to see like small pieces and graphs of it pop up in like Mexico after they just caught like a big guy, and after they just caught like a big drug lord or something. You'll see certain equipment, certain military drones, certain stuff that they wouldn't have access to, you know, but that was sold to them by like black market or, um, you know, uh, but specifically from Ukraine. Or what they'll do now is here, since Ukraine needs like soldiers, they'll even, they'll hire mercenaries too. They're not above like they'll take anything against the Russians. So they've also allowed people to join their ranks. So what the cartels will do, um, the ones that they're not in wars or they're trying to they're always in practice to get ready for a war too. That's
yeah,
they're always in preparation because they know here it's like you're always going to face some violence or something. So they send them over there to get them acquainted. They're like, okay, you're going to go over there. All right. So, and then what the main thing was here that made them go over there was that big drone attack that Ukraine did on Russia. I don't know if you saw that, but it was very, very, very strategic and very effective. But basically, what it did, the Ukrainians had like they used a bunch of just drones to destroy a bunch of military like airspace equipment for them. They destroyed billions and billions. They did damage, like, billions of dollars of damages here with, like, little bits of money, like, with drones that I mean, they cost money, obviously, but not compared to, like, what a 20-30 million dollar plane or something would be, you know?
yeah.
So they
That's
saw that. Yeah, they saw the advantages of drone warfare and everything, and they went full throttle. So now in Mexico, here, the ones that are, like, super, super that's why the US is the most afraid of right now of CJNG. That's the one literally here, that's the one cartel that I feel like the US government's the most, like, afraid of right now, or not afraid, not US is never gonna be afraid of, that's a wrong word, I apologize for that. But, like, that they're gonna look at after, because these guys are they're these guys have been trained, like, by the Mossad, like, these they one time here, they try to capture El Mencho. This was, like, his they call him coming home in Mexico, right? Sounds crazy, but this was when he first started getting like popularity. They try to apprehend him. I think it was like outside of like Guerrero, Michoacan. No, in Jalisco, I believe it was around there. And they basically try to apprehend him. Right? They try to capture him. They send like imagine sending like Green Berets, right? And helicopters, like Black Seals. Think about like some heavy duty stuff here. And these guys destroy. officially on the report they only brought down one helicopter, but see here, if the if I'll just tell you one thing. Once anytime the Mexican government declares casualties, if they say 10 people died, 50 people died. Like,
Yeah.
it's that bad. Like, so if one plane went down, there a lot of people say like they counted 4 planes went down, but they only reported one to, like, kind of make it seem not as bad as it, to show that they have more power than they really do. But these people are knocking down planes. They're like, they're they're next level. They're the reason they made like the narco terrorist designation, because they're starting to get like, they're the ones here, the CJNG. Those are the ones that were saying that they had surveillance on DEA members. Like, it's gotten to the point now where any agent, American agent or whatever, they'll land in like certain parts of Mexico, and they'll already be tracked. Like, they'll already be tracked before they even leave here. Like, they're starting to have intelligence on our side. Like,
You
that's
know
why.
what this reminds me of? It reminds me of Cuba back when Cosa Nostra was over there in Havana, and they were doing deals, and then Castro wanted them out, and then the U.S. came along, whatever, and they got Castro out of there. They dismantled the mafia out there, and it also intertwines with like the whole thing with Kiki Camerena, but there was the whole CIA with the Nicaragua fighting. Who'd they fight again? Nicaragua.
The Sandinistas.
The,
Yeah, it was the Sandinistas and the Contra. Uh,
yeah, the Contra.
but
Yeah, yeah,
yeah, yeah, the Iron, yeah, and that's what the whole Iron Contra affair and all that. And but the crazy part was, here it's crazy you said that with the Kika Camarena and all this other stuff. Now it's like what's always been said in Mexico, right? That the American side always knew really who, or that it was the beneficial for both sides that he was to go, like, that he was to die, unfortunately here. But they were
yeah.
saying like some parts of like the governments on both sides were like kind of knowledgeable, but they didn't say nothing. But one guy in particular, I mentioned him last time. His name is Hank Bartlett. Um, that guy. Like, I'm not gonna say obviously I know, like, so you're like, no one really knows except, but he is like, in the 70s and the 80s. See, this guy, his family right now, they're billionaires, right? And all his family, they're billionaires in Mexico. Like, their sons are living off what the father did in the 70s, like all of the corruption. Basically, here in Mexico, the ones that really went off the drug wars and the ones that have really, really, really benefited from the drugs are the bankers. Are
Really?
the one, yeah, the bankers. That's
How?
why that's why here you will always and forever will see money laundering, issues, compliances, fees, or because in Mexico here, money laundering for banks, that's their biggest form of revenue. Like, there's no other point like about it. Like, seriously, here, like HSBC, that banks have been like audited so many times for having like money laundering ties. HSC Bank, they have a bank called Scotia Bank, which is like, I know that sounds like European or whatever, but it's in
Yeah,
Mexico. Yeah, Banamex. A lot of these banks here were all formed off drug money, like from the 80s and the 90s.
is
And
J.P. Morgan out there? And
JP Morgan, I actually no. Well, the reason I know, or at least because I have, to be honest with you, I have Chase and stuff. So down there, they don't like,
yeah,
the main, yeah, over there. So you're like a lot of and stuff. What they'll do, yeah, they'll more than happily take your money to launder it. This, that, the other. Like Barlet, that guy made agreements with, his name is Amado Carrillo Fuentes, the guy from Narcos. Everyone knows from the TV shows El Señor de los Cielos. Um, but that guy, I felt like he was the one that had the most power ever in Mexico here.
really.
Yeah, Amado Carrillo Fuentes, because that guy, see, and just logistics wise, like, I'm talking about in product moved, money generated. That guy, see, was like Amazon for drugs,
That
literally. Like, he had a system set up here. Like, I mean, on Narcos, they did elaborate on it and everything, but there's a book. There's a book. I'm forgetting the name of it, but there's a book that it has like a bunch of like the informants of like the people that were running his logistics, transportations, and stuff. And the crazy part was here that he was using the principles and the basis. This was all during the NAFTA agreement, right? That we were
Yeah.
talking about the other time. In like 96, 97, the NAFTA passed, which was like, the North American Free Trade Agreement with Canada, US, and Mexico, which basically meant that open border for trade, which implies that, it's going to be a lot easier to push anything from Mexico to the US to Canada. So, so yeah, they made it, basically, they made it to where they open the floodgates per se. Here, it's like at the border, right? If you have 200,000 people or 2,200, it's just an example, 200,000 trucks running daily, right? You check about 25% of them, right? The other ones pass. Yeah, obviously some stuff pass. All right, but let's say they pass an agreement, right? And then the next month they tell you you're going from 200,000 trucks to 2 million.
Wow.
Within like a time period. So what is that going to do? There's going to be gaps of people. Oh, we're not ready for this. They're going to have to get. You're going to have to adapt to manpower, technology. This is that the other, and the cartels knew that, right? So what do? They flooded it. They like just flooded it. That's why that guy was called the Señor de los Cielos here, because he was bringing in his drugs from Colombia. That guy made direct he was one of the only ones, too, from Mexico to have like direct ties and conversations and everything with Pablo Escobar.
Oh shit.
Yeah, from the Medellin cartel, and that guy, he was. Sir, you have some power when you could steal drugs from Pablo Escobar and not have anything happen to you. That guy, so yeah, he had agreements with him, and then towards the end, once he was like dying, once Pablo, well, not dying, well, Pablo Escobar, his power was going, the Pepes were after him. Once, like the Carlos Castaño and the Castaño brothers in Colombia, once they were after him, the Autodefensas, the AUC, they saw what's the term? They saw they saw where the road was coming. So like they knew that this guy wasn't gonna last long. So you know what they do? They make a deal with the next one, the next cartel, which was the Cali cartel. So they made, and what does he do here? Like he makes agreement with the next cartel, and then he steals Pablo Escobar's last load to him, which was like 6 tons of
Oh my
cocaine.
god.
Yeah, because he knows he doesn't need him. He's never gonna be dead within like a year, and yeah, he was dead like with months. But I was like, yeah, you got some sway and power, or you could steal from Pablo Escobar.
Yeah.
That's one thing that stood up here.
And Escobar in his time, he was like one of the richest, right?
Yeah, no, Escobar. That's honestly, Sharon. Like that's why when I said like Mexican wise, I felt like Amado Carrillo Fuentes is the one that like volume, influence, and just like and overall, right? But no, overall in the world, like there's no one, and I don't think there's ever going to be anyone ever again here to have that influence and that type of power that Paulo Escobar yielded. Because when you really think about it, like to take him down, Seer, like they really had to assemble the Avengers. Like like a lot of people don't understand here. To take down one man, they had to get the CIA. They had to get the CIA, FBI, Interpol, all the European nations, the Mossad, all everybody, the Cali cartel, the Mexican cartels, um, the FARC, the also the AUC, the ones I was telling you about, the Carlos Castaño, the right wing paramilitary group from Colombia, like the guys in the jungle and all that stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, they had to get all these people just for one guy and his organization. And it took him. You would think, oh no, it took him 1 year or three. It took him. He was in power. Like a lot of people don't get realize. Escobar was in power since like 76, 75.
Yeah.
He died in 93. To have a 23-year run, to be known as like, well, not he wasn't known forever as like a billionaire, but till the 80s, late 70s, he was already known. But a lot of people don't get like the power, here because like and also the influence that he had on our country, even that we don't see, like Miami.
Oh yeah,
That place, man, Seer, that place was built on drug money, literally. It's that's so true, Seer. Like, and I'm not just saying that in a bad way or anything. I mean, legal, like all the buildings, all the city developments, all the funds, all the like, even the police pension fund is linked to like increases in all the revenue that Miami had in the '80s is due to drug activity. So it's like it's crazy, man. And also with Escobar, it's like that they really did have to get all those people against him. And God honest the truth, the only reason they killed him, see, is because he couldn't, go without being with his family, talking
yeah,
to his family. That was the only thing that'd get him. Because like, if he would have got to the jungle, because a lot of people, it's written in a lot of books, but also it's like in Colombia they have like documentaries and everything. He knew where the wave was going. He knew that the new drug scene in Colombia was going to be with like paramilitary groups, like let's say you see in like right now, like FARC, AUC, the ELN, the ones like right now, the main drug cartel in Colombia, South America is the ELN, which is another guerrilla, which is like another paramilitary group in Colombia. And all of those, Escobar, he had a plan, Seer, before he died and everything. He was just going to go out to the jungle and start his own right wing group. And basically, the whole gist of it is, and the reason they turn into a paramilitary group is here, is that in like they'll make the government will start making agreements with those groups as political agreements. So they if you decide that you're going to be a right wing military guy, like a political organization like AUC, then you have like a form of an outlet. Like you could still make an agreement with the government and be like, okay, I'm gonna turn in my arms, I'm gonna stop doing bad, but I'm gonna get pardoned. All my crimes are gonna be pardoned, and because I'm a political movement. I'm not a drug dealer. This was a political movement, and we're
yeah.
going for peace. And he's gonna try to turn into that, but it was too late for him. So he had burned too many bridges, killed so many people. His biggest mistake, at least um, what they see here, is that he betrayed his closest people to him. It's I feel like it's something that happens to all of them. The people at the top, they just start getting too paranoid. They don't know who to trust. You don't know who's robbing you. You don't know. And
Is so El Chapo don't come close to Escobar?
no, El
Not a,
Chapo, no, not in my opinion, because no, don't get me wrong, sir. El Chapo definitely has his weight. He's definitely a drug kingpin. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, he's in Mexico. Like, some people see him as almost like a patron saint. It's crazy, sir. Like, you go to like where he's from, Badiraguato, La Tuna, up there in Sinaloa, and like the rural areas. Like, I'm talking. These are like country folk, like almost what we would consider, like, not to use a bad like term or anything, but like hillbillies. What we would consider hillbillies or something like that, like
yeah,
country. Yeah, that's like where they're from is La Sierra, which is like think about like the country, the plains, but it's really nice. It's really beautiful. But they're all known for being outside, like enjoying the country, and so it's very rural. So a lot of they don't have nothing here. They don't have lights. They don't have roads. They don't have anything. So these guys get there. They put roads. They put lights. They put Wi-Fi. They give public food. They give this other stuff. They give stuff that the government never has even bothered to give them. They give them aid. They pay for doctors. They pay for hospitals, for schools, everything. And then people wonder why they turn a blind eye. It's because they're doing the job that the government isn't doing.
yeah,
And but so but it's a two-edged sword, because the cartel, obviously, they do it knowing um hearts and minds, right? It's all about
right.
hearts and minds. And what they do also, Sarah, it's like, you think they're building that road for the people in the city. Now they're building that road because they want to be able to travel their drugs, their logistics, they're through a lot faster. It's
That's
not because of they're trying to be nice. I mean, obviously they're going to play it that way, but But yeah, it's all about interest, calming, serving interest, and the people like right now it's here in December. Right now in Mexico is big. They do like posadas. They do posadas like which are like parties.
Okay.
Um, yeah, they do like like parties. I'm sorry, I was reading this comment. But yeah, they do parties, and also the cartels will start giving out like despensas they call them. So think about like at the end of the year, they'll go to like the city town square. Like in Mexico, every city here will have. I'm pretty sure you've seen it, but like every main city in Mexico will have like their town name. Like let's say if you're um in Mazatlan, right? They'll have in the city, like by the church or the city town square or something, they'll say Mazatlan in like rainbow colors. That's like a Mexico thing, right? Any big city, it'll have like their city name in rainbow colors in the middle of the town. So like a lot of these cartels, they'll get like literally in the middle of the town, in front of everybody, and big trucks. They'll come out here. They'll have trucks full of toys, like bags full of toys that they give out to kids, to parents, food, clothes, money. Um, they'll give them gift cards, stuff to go buy at stores, all this other stuff, and they give it out, and that's what you see. That's like on social medias here. That you'll see like faces on them, like you'll see El Chapo's face on this bag of like toys that they gave to the kids. You know what I'm saying? You'll see El Mencho's face on a bag of clothes. You'll see, it's crazy. Serious. It's yeah. This month it's big in Mexico, and you know how we were talking about traveling.
Yeah.
Yeah, traveling down to Mexico, like it's real bad. Especially if you're going from mine, like if you're going from Texas, if you're traveling like through a car, that's where it's bad. Like if you're traveling through plane, you won't encounter it unless you're driving around. But if you're traveling by like car, bus, something like that, going to encounter one of those checkpoints I was mentioning to you. Is that and they're fairly common, like but yeah, it's basically like these guys here, they get down in like the middle of the road somewhere, and it's like the only road. Like you can't like go through, oh well, I'm just not go through here and not pay them. I'm gonna go through the back road. No. It's the only road. So like, and they know that, right? So they all get there in the middle, and it's only at nighttime most of the time. It's only at nighttime, and you go up there, and they'll plainly ask you, hey, yeah, it's gonna be $40. Hey, it's gonna be this, and they take it from you because why? Because I mean, sir, what are you gonna do? You're a tourist. You're going down there. You see a bunch of these guys. You see maybe two or three of them right there in front of you with guns, and like you see some other guys in the trucks and all this other stuff. What are you gonna do?
So hypothetically, let's say I'm driving there, right? But
Hmm.
I don't have a destination, but I want to go sightseeing, and it's nighttime, and I don't know Spanish, and I'm like, and they stop me, and I'm like, I don't know, I just want to drive around, and look at towns and stuff. Are they gonna like do stupid shit?
No, I'll tell you right off the bat. Majority of the time, like not now, Sierra, am I gonna guarantee you that it won't happen? Like you never know. There might be that one nut out there, But no, Sierra, like 80% of the time, 85% of the time, if you were to go down there, they'd leave you alone. Why? From big things. Like they're not gonna hurt you. They might knock you down for $20, $30, but they're not gonna hurt you. Why? You specifically, because you're American. You're a tourist. They don't want any problems, any heat with tourists or anything like that. They'll take your money now. Don't get me wrong. They'll not rob you, like, beat you up or this,
Yeah.
but yeah, but they'll what they call down here, a friendly extort, right? They'll ask nicely. They ask nicely with a big stick, right? Yeah, they let's just say that, here. But yeah, no, like you here, honestly, and it depends where you're gonna go. Like I wouldn't recommend doing that sightseeing stuff at night anywhere really. Like in Tamaulipas, any in the area around the borders here, you don't want to be doing that at night at all.
Yeah.
Like, and plus, honestly, here, unless you're like in Monterey, um, or I'm talking about near the border, right? Monterey or at least on TJ or on that side of the border. But here, like around Texas and this, you don't want to be on that. There's not really a lot of sightseeing. It's just desert, really, like a lot of dry desert shrubs and mountains and stuff. And yeah, it's not very recommended to go out at night here. Um, that's just even with locals. Like they don't even go out really at night. But yeah, like you specifically, sir, or any American citizen, like for the most part, you don't have to worry about people messing with you or anything. And it's not because, it's more of a because they don't want the heat. They don't want the trouble. They don't want to get in trouble with their bosses because if they hurt an American or something, obviously something's gonna happen. They're gonna have to react, right? If they hurt a
Yeah,
Mexican citizen, they might do something if he's from a wealthy family, or if he has, if he's a somebody, what they
yeah,
consider a somebody. But yeah, an American, no. Why? Because it's going to bring down the heat. They're going to start having to ask people. I don't know if you remember, Seer, what happened. There was like four Americans that went down there, and it was like a family, and they had gotten or they got kidnapped, or they got like something like that. I don't know if you heard about them, and they
no,
got like yeah, and they got kidnapped supposedly, and within the next day, like the government made like a ultimatum, like that they had to release them, or else they were going to send in the forces to go get their citizens. And like within the next day, so like they let all four of them go, and they turned in they turned in somebody they said that did it, but they turned in somebody to pay for the crime basically,
yeah.
because
You know,
they don't want the smoke. They, especially ever since they killed Kiki Camerena in
yeah.
Mexico. See, yeah, that for them that was like their okay, no, no, never again. Like we don't want that type of smoke ever.
The only thing that sucks with the U.S. is they don't pay ransoms.
No, yeah, that's the yeah, yeah.
That you have
Well,
to pay your taxes, you have to pay everything, but when it comes to them paying for you, they're not doing it.
unless you're unless you got something, or you know how it is here. They're like unless you have money, I feel like unless you come from power, or you got some type of something going on. I feel
Yeah,
like they might do something for you. That's like I get reminded. I don't know if you remember the yeah. See, one of your comment guys said it. He said the four Black Americans went to get surgery for the girl. It was on the news. I remember that. Yeah, that's exactly it. That was the one that I'm referring to. Yeah, and apparently the guys that did it was like or the ones that did it down there. They were saying that they went down there for like some sketchy stuff too, but that was like off the news. And but yeah, see.
I heard El Chapo was one of the reasons why Chicago is so bad right now.
See, the thing with like well, like Chicago, the main ones for El Chapo up there were the Flores twins. I don't know if you've heard of them before, but
The twin,
yeah, the twins, the Flores twins. They have like they even have some connection with like um, 50 Cent the rapper.
yeah,
See, yeah, the Flores twins. They have the story that allegedly, again, I mean, it's just what they say, that back in the day when the Flores twins were in Chicago, they used to say Little Village, right? Little Village, Chicago. It's a heavy Hispanic community there. A lot of Mexican Americans. That's like their area, right? And then once there's here, G Unit, 50 Cent, and all them, they had a concert and in their city. And this was during like 50 Cent's run. Like this was like Get Rich or Die Trying 50 Cent, like 2004, 2005.
yeah,
When back when he was the main thing. And one of his crew members got their chain stolen or something like that from someone in Chicago, and apparently they called the Flores twins to get it back, and they got it back. It's like a rumor, supposedly, Sir. But
yeah.
that's how the Flores twins got their name out there at the beginning. I remember, and then but yeah, these guys. If you want to talk about some interesting characters here, they have a lot of videos on YouTube. They even have a channel. I would really recommend it too, Sir. But now these Flores twins, these guys. they were shipping a lot of drugs in from Mexico to Chicago to Little Village. They would go through Texas, but these guys, since they were little, like here, these guys were born into it. Like literally, since they were little, they were helping their dad smuggle drugs over the border when they were like 3 4 years old.
Oh
Like
shit.
they're yeah, they were ingrained with it. Like these guys, but they have some stories here. Like you said, Chicago and like was El Chapo and everything.
Yeah.
Now in Chicago, you still have your cartel de Sinaloa in the Midwest. A lot of you see a lot of operatives from them in like, of course, Chicago, Detroit. A lot of people don't know about that, but in Detroit,
Detroit too.
um, yeah, Detroit. It's very bad for drugs. Detroit, Chicago, and Pittsburgh. A lot, and that's another one a lot of people don't even know about. But they
Oh,
use Pittsburgh as like a route, as like because with Pittsburgh, if you go they could basically go anywhere from there. And see here, one of the things that in Chicago right now that they're fighting is the plazas, like for the territory. Like now that El Chapo's people have gone down, and honestly, with the Suns in jail, a lot of the Suns have been giving up their own people too. A lot of their own operatives, a lot of their own people that would sell their drugs on this side of the border. A lot of the people that would get them the weapons, the money launderers, like because they're trying to shave time off their sentences and all this other stuff. So they're snitching on their workers. So that's why you had a lot of people leave their faction and join the other faction
oh,
because they're like, if they're selling me out, if they're selling this guy out and he was my boss, well, what the heck he's gonna do with me? So they ended
yeah.
up leaving, yeah. And then so now you see this like oversight, right? And in Chicago and the whole Midwest. And what a lot of people don't realize too, here is like with the Midwest, they use it as a hub, like Chicago and all that area, so they can go from there to like New York, right? Or
Yeah.
they go, yeah, from there because that's like their hub. That's where they would send it from Chicago. And you see CJNG come in there now. CJNG, I'm telling you, Sierra is becoming more like everywhere. You start seeing them. Obviously, you've always seen them in Texas, but Texas used to be like majority of it used to be Gulf Cartel and Zeta Cartel, which is like the ones that are on the Mexican side of the border are the ones connected like right there with Texas, like Tamaulipas, Cojila, um, all that area is all Golfo, Zetas, Noreste cartel, like all the old people from the Zetas cartels. Those they're really bad peoples here. These guys are like the worst of the worst. Like these guys are who really started the torture stuff in Mexico, like the vile stuff. Like going to you should look up the uh, Allende incident. I don't want to say the other word because you might get flagged. I'm sure, but the Allende incident and this guy, they send a whole town just because there was an informant possibly that could have stopped in that town or something. Um, they use that guy. They use that guy's here to. I was reading this comment here. Yeah, Kohila. Yeah, he's making fun. I'm sorry, I can't. I couldn't say. There's certain words in Spanish here I'm not too great at. But yeah, yeah, yeah. But what were we just talking about here? I'm sorry.
The guy, the informant.
Yeah, the informant. Oh, okay. Yeah, the Allende incident with that guy. Just the main guy. His name was Zeta 40, right? His name Manuel Treviño. No, Miguel. Miguel Ángel Treviño. That was his name. Miguel Ángel Treviño and his other brother, Omar Treviño. These guys are from Dallas, from here, from Texas. They're Mexican, but they were raised and they established themselves here in Dallas, Texas, and Oklahoma. They were big into horse racing and stuff. That's where they were laundering their money in. And
Uh,
this guy became like he became the number two for the main leader in Los Zetas cartel, which was like a ex Gafe member of like the security forces in Mexico. So it'd be like if a Delta force was to start a cartel over here, and
yeah.
just a bunch of old Delta guys get together and form a group like a crime group or something, you know. And that guy, Zeta 40, someone had informed uh, against his group, right? The informant, and the guy told him that he possibly could be an Allende or he passed through there. They didn't know for sure, and just because he got the whim, just because he was crazy. This guy's Seer. This guy would kill. Well, he would do it to people, Seer, and make them into tamales. Like it sounds crazy, I know, but
What?
there's like actual documented things in Mexico where this guy would like get enemies and make them into tamales, like literally, and eat them in front of his people just to like give that like psycho impression, like that he's
Like
crazy.
like the pepper?
Yeah.
It,
Yeah.
it, it would turn them into a pepper.
Yeah, yeah, and yeah,
Oh,
this guy would make them into tamales, and
what?
another thing is here, this guy, this guy was ruthless, man. He poisoned his own mother-in-law here because just because he didn't like her. He gave her like a bad dose of Botox just because he didn't like his mother-in-law.
No, that's sickening.
Yeah, no, this guy was yeah, and he got caught up there for that Allende thing, and basically they did like a horrible thing into this small town and in the northern part of Mexico. It's here, and there's actually a documentary or a Netflix thing about it recently.
What?
It's called Allende, I think. But yeah,
Yeah.
back when that came out, but yeah, those guys, see, and a lot of those guys, believe it or not, this was another topic I wanted to discuss. Like, not to get political, I'm not, pro this side, pro that side, or anything. But one thing that this administration has done, like within, like this term, right, see,
Right.
with Mexico or anything, the one thing that they cannot say that man hasn't done here is like he has brought over here like so many extradited drug lords. Like it's crazy that he was able to bring like the main drug lords that we've been wanting to bring over here to prosecute for like the last 20, 30 years, but we couldn't get them over because of like all of the diplomatic, BS or all the ribbons or all no, he has to go through the court trials in Mexico and we have to respect his, his juridical wit and we have to, honor his amendments as a Mexican citizen and all the stuff. And then, Trump gets elected, calls them what, you know, calls them corrupt, calls them a lot of stuff, makes it hard for him here and under pressure, they what do? They
They,
give him what they give him what he wanted, which was like all of the drug lords that they've been asking the Mexican government for like the last. They just got the guy that they blamed for killing Kiki Camerena
oh
here.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, Rafa Caro Quintero. They
Yeah.
just extradited him. Those guys I was telling you about, those really horrible guys, the 742. Um, they extradited them. A whole bunch of people. So you're basically the top tier narcos that have been like wanted by the U.S. but have been imprisoned in Mexico. Finally got extradited over here, and what the Mexican government does here, basically, they'll make a deal with like the drug lords. They'll be like, okay, hey, look, it's over. Hang it up. You could either go to prison here for the rest of your life, but it'll be a Mexican prison. You'll be able to get women, alcohol, drugs, whatever. Unless it's like Altiplano, unless it's like one of those main big security, prisons like Altiplano, and there's like one more. But unless you're in one of those, but the majority of them, they'll go to like these other like prisons, and in these prisons they have access to anything. Like it's crazy. Like there's this one incident, a Zetas member, his name was Araña. This guy was he was a high cartel leader for the Zetas in a prison in here I think it was by Nuevo Laredo or Coahuila again. Um, but this guy was using the prison guards to use them to like he was killing prison members. Sear, he was doing the work in there. He was dismembering and all this other stuff and in prison, like nothing. Like it's like he said it was easier to do it in there than it was outside. Like
What the hell?
yeah, it's yeah, Sear. That's how it is in Mexico. That's why that's their biggest fear. That's like same with Pablo Escobar. You know how they said like all those guys. What's their biggest fear? Tradition, U.S. prison. That's their biggest fear because they can't corrupt it. Well, they can, but not as much as they would like in their home country.
Yeah.
Um, yeah,
Here's
and
what I
that's
think with the whole thing with the president we got now. So they're bringing in all these guys, the top guys, but we know there's going to be more guys that's going to take control anyway. That's number one. Number two, we know for sure if we could end that war, the drug war, in like 3 days over there, probably tops with the
oh for
Marines and
sure,
everything.
Sierra.
And they just, I don't think they want that. I don't think the top people in the U.S. would want that. I think they like certain operations. That's my opinion.
No, Sierra, and I totally agree with you, Sierra, and I'm just not agreeing with you just to agree with you. It's just that's just the facts. Like if you look at looking around the world, like it's a common like I mean I think you have to be blind not to see it, Sierra. Like if you look at all of our operatives like all around the world, like in Afghanistan, and
Yeah,
you think that they went there, Sierra, for just to control that part of the Middle East? No, they did it to control opium and the
yeah,
poppies and all that. And you know why? It's because who uses it the most? The Chinese. You know,
and the
and us,
pharmaceuticals.
obviously. Pharmaceutics and all this.
Yeah,
It's. I feel like the drug war. It was never about ending or ending drugs. Or it's all about control. Here,
yeah.
control. Who
If they
has
want,
control? You know.
right, if they wanted to end it, they would have ended it when that thing with Kiki happened. And who passed the Rockefeller law again? What was it? Reagan passed the Rockefeller law. I forget which president passed the Rockefeller law, but they wanted people in prison because then they get more of the tax money and shit like that. I don't know
When you
where.
said Rockefeller law, I know you guys had that one governor in New York, David Rockefeller, I think.
No,
Or
so
one something like that.
there was a law that was passed. I think it was in the 80s or the 70s
Mhm.
where three strikes and you're out, and then you go to jail for life for the drugs.
Mhm.
So you know, one of the biggest money makers in the U.S. is prisons and jails and shit. They make all the money off the taxpayers. That's why the U.S. has the most people in jail. They work there. They get paid like what 6 cents an hour or some shit like that.
Yeah, it's all yeah, it's incentive based, like to get people back in. It's never been about rehabilitation or anything. And Seer, one of your guys here, Kyle, he made a really good comment about like regarding Fenton, China, and the cartel and stuff.
Oh yeah,
Um,
yeah,
yeah, dude, it's crazy that he said that because like they have this whole thesis right about it. So like how in China there's been propaganda videos that you could see them. I've even got hit with them on TikTok before, like where the Chinese government, the CCP, and all of they call it the politburo, like their whole like committee. They're all tongue in cheek, just like having fun, like they're laughing at us to the point to where like they were they're saying that them sending us, the fence and all the drugs, it's like their payback for the opium wars back when the Western world, in the 1800s and stuff here, back when we would, or not us, but the British, basically the Western world, they say, right? So the
yeah,
British, the Dutch, the Swedish, whoever, the Europeans, they would all bombard China with like opium, in order to get, they wanted all the silk, the spices, and all this other stuff from China, but China didn't want anything from them, like anything that the Brits were trading. So what did they do? They created something that the Chinese would need, and they made them opium addicts, right? Once they made them addicts, they had the opium. They controlled all the opium because they controlled India at the time, which is India's right next to China,
yeah.
right? So they would flood China with drugs and keep them controlled and like steal all their resources with that, right? So they kept that as like they always remembered that, and they always kept that as like they always remembered that, right? And then now you'll see videos of like Xi, or that's the president of China,
Oh, Xi Jinping.
yeah, Xi Jinping, him and all his other, his committee and everything, where they're all like all in agreement, like that. Basically, it's all in tongue in cheek against you. They're never going to publicly admit that that's what they're doing, right? But they're basically all implying that this is like their payback for for all that time that that they filled our country with drugs and all this other stuff. This is our payback. Now we're going to do it to them, back to the Western world. We're gonna send our drugs to them. Fentanyl, all the precursors and stuff in Mexico, sir. All that stuff's coming from China.
Yeah, I figured that.
Yeah, all that stuff's coming from China, and the government knows it too. The U.S. government and everybody knows it. That's why they've been trying to get Mexico. China has been forever, like for the last 10 years, has been trying to like win Mexico over. They've been trying to like, and they have in China. I mean, in China, in Mexico, so you see a lot of those Chinese companies, Japanese companies, and all this other stuff, and they do that because they send all that finished product up here. Um, and but they in the same businesses that do that here, they'll be the ones that importing all the precursors. So like all your medicinal, your pharmaceutical companies in Mexico, the ones importing that stuff from China, to make other medicines or other, for other uses, industrial uses or whatever. It's all used for precursor stuff for fent. And a lot of that stuff is imported right there in the Pacific. Mazatlan, Colima is a big one for CJNG. That's in the Pacific. Tecate, on well, all that region right there. Not Tecate, I'm sorry, Tepic. Tecate is in the north. Tecate is
Yeah,
over here at the border. Tepic is right there where your friend was. But yeah, and that's what they're saying, that it's starting to it's like their paybacks here. It's like they're like, yeah, how do you guys like it? And they sent the Fenton, that's why they make it strong to it's like deliberate effect to affect our society, to make us bad, make us addicts, you know.
the crazy thing about it, though, like I'm shocked the Mexico would even want to be a part of that because that shit basically kills you. So why would they want to kill a customer?
Yeah, no. See, what it also is here, like Mexico, and don't and within the last this last between 2010 to 2017, China had a stronghold in Mexico's here. I'm talking about it owned, like, I think it was like 60 to 70% of all the mining efficiencies. They were after all that lithium that Elon Musk was after in Mexico like 2 3 years ago. China was on it like 7 years ago, like, or eight, yeah, whatever. It's like 7 8 years ago. Like they were they were already fighting for stuff in Mexico, like when Enrique Peña Nieto was in office. So what happens was that AMLO, that guy that I was mentioning to you from Morena, we'll call him the OG, all right? See that, the Godfather, I'd like to call him, of the Mexican politics right now, AMLO, the former president. Yeah, this guy. Yeah. Oh, and another thing, I wanted to mention, Finn. There's a new drug, that of one of your comments reminding me of. It starts with an N. I think it's he says nitrates, but no, it's just, it starts with, it's a new drug, Seer, that you're gonna start seeing. Like, I'm already seeing press, like local news, but it starts with an N. I'll have to get to send you the link of it again. I was just reading on this, but it's a newer drug that they're making, which is supposed to be, I don't know how many more times stronger than Fent. So like Fent was just like the beginner. Like that was just let's see how that works.
Yeah, I heard there was some car fent or something.
Some what, sincere?
It was called like car fentanyl or something.
Yeah, Carfin. And then there's one. It starts with the N, I believe. And this one, Sir, it's really potent. But another thing I wanted to touch on too, Sir, was the like with the drug wars, or like with, or at least with you know how we were talking about the wire.
Yeah.
Oh, Seer, your guy nailed it. Your guy nailed it on here, Seer. Kyle, nitazines. That's what it is.
And what does that do? Kyle's always coming in clutch.
Yeah, for real. But basically, what all that stuff is, it's they basically it's like a chemical. All of that's chemical reaction, right? So, and fent and all that. It's all within like the same opiate family. And so a synthetic version of it. A lot of these things you could when they synthesizes it, they can they could just remove like either a polymer or something, and make it into a new drug, or
Yeah,
or make it, step less or something, So they could always tweak it. And if it's one thing China has is like since they don't have like that capacity like since the government runs everything over there, they could do whatever they want, so they could put as many scientists as they want on something.
that's crazy.
Yeah, but the nitazines, that's what it's called. Um Here, so yeah, just be on the lookout for that one. But that one's way, 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 way more dangerous.
Damn, man.
Yeah. But one thing I did want to say is here how that whole epidemic started and all that in Mexico and the fent and all that. I don't want to say the whole word because I think it's kind of
Yeah,
bad.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But in Mexico we call it Fanta.
Okay.
Yeah, Fanta. I'll just say that Fanta. Yes, there. And how that started in Mexico was that people in Sinaloa and La Sierra, like in the Sierra Madre area, that's where like where El Chapo and all them were born. All the famous drug lords. It's crazy here. You know how they say like all of the like five heads of the family at one point were like Sicilians, or a bunch of the Sicilians, they were all from the same part of Sicily, or like
Yeah,
all from the same around the same. Same with like Mexico. A lot of them are like from Sinaloa and from the same area, Badiraguato, Guasave. It's all right there in Sinaloa. El Mayo, El Chapo, Amado Carrillo Fuentes, anyone, los Arellano, Felix from Tijuana, Beltran Leva, all these people here, they come within like the same region. It's crazy.
that is crazy.
Yeah, it's just like with Italians, like how like it's all they come from, we're all from Trapani, from Sicily, or they're all from this area, or from Naples, or
Yeah,
yeah, it's very like that too. And you do have your feuds too. So you're like, how some like they call it Napolitans, yeah, the Napolitans versus your Sicilians, right? Over here, it's the same thing. You'll have like your people from TJ, right? More city slick people. Although it's not, the best city, right? But more city, then you have your rural people, your hillbillies with money from Sinaloa, coming over here trying to tell us what to do. Us city folks, we have money, more flash. Seriously, it's like there's
yeah.
always a clash.
So that's never gonna end, I guess.
Yeah, no, for sure. And another here with the Fent, how it started in Mexico is like they would since they would make the opium and all that area what I was telling you about in that same area where they were all born.
Yeah,
Yeah, they would make the opium amapola. Amapola it's called in Spanish. Basically the same thing. Tears of the poppy, they cultivize opium, and then they process it into heroin or black tar heroin, or they call it gomita in Spanish. Gomita, which is like it could be another word for chicle, which is gum.
yeah.
Yeah, because it looks like gum, you know. Um, and they get it all, and instead of going through all that, what they decided to do, see, since in order to do all that, you have to cultivate it, you gotta wait for the season, you gotta hire these people, you gotta it's a whole process. And then you gotta worry about it getting seen up top from all the aerial shots, the US government, Mexican government, drones, you're gonna have to pay for bribes, this, that, and the other, when you could just use a chemist, pay him really good, and then he can make you a synthetic opioid, fent, right? Once he does that, boom, you don't have to make heroin no more.
Damn.
Yeah. That's how it started, right? And then so what did they started with that first. They started just cutting like white girl with
Yeah,
that. Start cutting white girl with that, and then they start cutting all the other stuff with it, with Fent to give it like an edge, to make it like to increase their profit margins, right? They'll put more of that and less of the other, and they would notice people would like it. Some people were dying obviously because it was way too strong, and the main thing is, it's like you can't. The thing is with some of these people, so you're like a lot of people don't realize these people are dying because they're putting their hands with the lives of like these guys. Most of them they aren't chemists. Like the chemists will make the fen, but they're not the ones pressing the pills, doing this or making those into those little pills that I was gonna get into. Here that that's what everyone in Sinaloa and all them made their money off of that. Those M30s and stuff that
yeah,
are like yeah, that are famous around like, in the US.
yeah.
Yeah, in Mexico, that's what they would do. They saw that over here people were afraid of like needles or they're much more afraid they're people obviously do take drugs with needles, but they're more than likely to take a pill than they are to inject themselves with something. You know what I'm
Right.
saying?
Yeah.
So they got smart. They're like, you know what? We're just gonna start to make them into these pills because they started seeing that all those prescription drugs and everything start getting nailed really bad. And like the late and like 2015 post 2015 forward, like all that stuff started to get nailed. So what do? They start making them into like those little. They start pressing them. You had all these like it's crazy. So we could even do like a whole other episode just on this topics here. There's famous YouTubers right now on the internets here that have made their money off Fent in Mexico. But since like they're influencers, they use like their influencer YouTube page and stuff to launder that money.
Oh,
And yeah, now they're getting investigated. You should look this guy up. His name is Marquitos Toys. Your friend should know about him.
yeah.
Uh, yeah, Marquitos Toys and all his clan. These guys were all connected in Culiacan, which is like the capital of Sinaloa. And these guys, it would be like, you know how we have our streamers here, like let's say like I don't know if you like Aiden Ross, right? Like Aiden Ross, all those big time like Kai Sanan or whatever. It'd be like if one of those guys was connected with like I don't know, like back in the old days was like a heavy hitter over here, so you're someone big and basically they were doing their stuff, they were selling their drugs, they were doing this stuff, but on the side they were like a famous YouTuber and they were using that to cover, as a front. And now they're getting investigated and it's getting bad here, but you saw a lot of that influx in like 2016. A lot of those influencers and stuff, they would use their pages and all this sort of stuff to promote all that. And then these guys here, they would press like they would all get in collectives and like they would pitch in like, okay, we're gonna make 100,000 of these little things, right? Those M30s. Uh, it's gonna cost us 50 grand. Okay, you put 10, I put 15, you put 10, you put the rest, right? And we'll share. So and they start selling all that stuff here, but it's all pure profit because all that fence stuff now it's all synthetic. They don't have to go to Colombia.
Oh,
You see what I'm
shit.
saying? They don't have to go to the mountains. They don't have to make an agreement with some dude with some guerrilla army in the freaking jungle. Worry about if they're gonna get robbed. No, all they have to do is get a chemist, know some Chinese companies, some precursor companies, and that's it, see, and you keep all the profits to yourself, and then that's what they did, and then all of a sudden everybody started doing, it. And then that's when you saw all the influx of all those M30 pills, all the all that stuff, and all those deaths and everything because you had a lot of these kids, literally children, here, just trying to get rich, trying to make these like blue M30s, and doing whatever they can, and yeah, a lot of fortunes were made in Mexico off the suffering of a lot of us Americans, which is bad. Sir.
This is why the comment section should know never do drugs.
No, for sure, and that's why if anything, sir, or if I'm here with my with my little info, probably too much at times, it's to keep you away from it, man. Because as you know, sir, like I've seen up firsthand, right? Experiences and stuff, man, with all that stuff. It's just the people with it. So, it does have its good and its bad, but it's like with everything, man. It's not worth it with anything. And then
Yeah.
especially here, and then in Mexico, even worse. With all the problems and everything. It's like everything's here, like with crime in general. Like um, now with technology, it's impossible. Like you know, um, with like how it used to be. And that's another thing I wanted to get into with you, Sir. Possibly to talk about, but with drones and AI. There was this one funny case in Mexico where the leader of the Mexican police force right now, like they call him Batman. That's how much they like go crazy for him in Mexico. Here, his name is Omar Harfuch. Your friend was talking about him the other day too. Um, but yeah, this guy, he's known as Batman in like his in Mexico, and he's supposed to be like the next president of Mexico after this president. He's been like picked. He's already been like um, they've already like started the campaign, like the fundraisers and stuff. Once in Mexico, here once they start, like it's called the Grupo Hank. There's like these like different groups of like businessmen in Mexico, and like once you start seeing like them with those groups, it's like they've been picked, and everybody in Mexico knows it. So like they already have him. Like okay, so next election he's gonna run, and they're already trying to find someone who's gonna try to run against him. But
What's the term limits for a president in Mexico? You broke up. I couldn't hear you.
hey, can you hear me?
Now I could hear you.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. Yeah, they work. Yes, here they only work 6 years. It's a term. Same with like the
Okay.
governors too.
Okay.
It's a 6 year. Yeah. Over here, you know how we have re-election for presidents? It's like
Yeah.
every 4 years. Yeah, it's just a six over there. But man, I'm telling you, sir, with six, they do some damage, man.
Yeah.
The
6 years is a lot to do
Yeah,
that.
they could do some real yeah, here, man, I'm telling you, I've been thinking about just starting like, I don't know, making like a segment, just speaking of like all the political stuffs here, because like there's some stories here, man, from like the 80s. I don't know if you remember that president I was telling you about. His name is Carlos Salinas Gutierrez. It's funny because he's a Mexican president, but he has like an Italian last name, you know? Yeah. And this guy's here. He was Harvard educated, right? Um, Came over here. He knew all the ways, American customs and everything. And then once he became president, the Americans to this day, see, that's why the only reason they say that he's not in prison is because he was so friendly to like Ronald Reagan towards like the 80s, the early administration, like when Ronald Reagan was about to leave, and Bush took over for that
Yeah.
one term, and then Bill Clinton came, but yeah, was because he was so friendly to like he was pro American business. This guy, us here, like for us, he was good, but for Mexican people, he wasn't so very good, like for their economy. Um, he basically sold out there. They had a Pemex. It's called like their national oil. Um, he basically sold everything off to foreign interests. Serious. So like all the that's when you saw a lot of like overnight billionaires in Mexico. Like you saw that. That's when Carlos Slim, the richest man in Mexico.
No.
Yeah, Carlos Slim. He's like one of the richest men in the world. He's like I don't know how many. He used to be the richest man in the world, but um, this was like in the mid 2000s, tens. Yeah, in 2010 ish around there. But he still's like he owns like I don't know how much parts of Mexico. But all the billionaires, it goes back to that one point I was making here. All these billionaires in Mexico, they're all from banking. And what those banks do here, they take your drug money. They'll be like, "Yeah, of course we'll launder. Yes, we'll take your money. Yes, don't worry. No, they can't access it. No, it's safe. Don't worry. Launder every dollar, right? They take your money. This is that." And then once the government comes, they freeze your assets, right? And they
Yeah.
hit you with the, oh, we can't do nothing. U.S. government came, put a lock. I can't do nothing. That money's there. I'm so sorry. This, that, the other. So what happens? You lose that money. They'll tell you, well, eventually what happens? The government will seize it, but in the meantime, that bank will use that money to like lend it to others. They'll work that money,
Yeah.
and
Collect that in.
that yeah, they'll collect that interest. They'll start lending it out. They'll start making developments. Next thing you know, they start making five more banks. And then so yeah, those bankers and all that in Mexico. Well, bankers in general, that's their business. But
Uh,
in Mexico specifically, this year it's yeah. There's not a bank in Mexico that hasn't benefited from drug money this year.
that's
Literally.
sickening.
Yeah, it's very sickening, and also, and this just shows you, see, like, when those drug wars started, the recent one in like 2024, 2023 ish, late 23, early 2024, like in Sinaloa. Once the war started, that city, the economy literally went to crap. Like within 3 months, I forgot the labor statistic stats they had, but it was in the thousands. You're like, so many people lost their jobs, so many businesses shut down permanently, so many big businesses too. Not small time, obviously they went down quick, but I'm talking about big established businesses like in Mexico. Walmart owns these chains that are called like Bodega Herrera, and like they have their own chains in Mexico. They do have Walmarts in Mexico, but they also have other stores like in Spanish that are owned by Walmart, and even those stores are closed. Like big businesses will close because why? Because all that drug money stopped. You
Oh
know,
shit.
and all that drug money, you would think, well, why is it going to affect Walmart? No, it's because all that drug money, that's what people eat off, because those people that bring in the drug money, they spend that money in what? Cars, clothes, services, clothes, jewelry, food. It's like it's all like an effect. So it's like, hey, they start making less money, I'm gonna start making less money and then because I'm making less money, the next guy's making less money. So it's like a chain. And
Yeah.
that's what you're seeing right now. And that's why you're seeing all those strikes. That's why you're seeing all those people pissed off in Mexico because drug money's starting to stop in some areas.
Now, is the Mexican government? You know how like the U.S. The intelligence is so good, they spy
Hmm.
on everybody. Do they do that in Mexico?
Oh, yeah. And they actually have a really good system, Mexico. And the reason I tell you this is Genaro Garcia Luna, that guy I was telling you about, that's in Brooklyn, MCC, or that one
Y-
where El Chapo is,
Yeah.
um, or where he used to be at least. Uh, yeah, the Oh dang! I'm sorry, sir. I got lost in this comment real quick. He
It's
said,
all
"Let's
right.
get into the." Yeah. Sir, I'm sorry. What was that question one more time, buddy?
With the spying, like does the
Yeah.
government?
Okay. Yes, the spying. Here. Yes. Genaro Garcia Luna, that guy that I was telling you about, he first introduced like all this intelligence software in Mexico. It started with like what we know as Pegasus, but all these are like Israeli like based softwares and stuff. And it's all spy stuff. Here and like what happens in Mexico, which happens here too, but what happens mostly in Mexico is here, they know everything. Like they know where all these people are at. Like they from or and if they don't know the exact pinpoint, here, if they wanted to, they could find them. You know what I'm saying? It's just
Yeah.
yeah, it's like they know where you're at, or they know where that area you're at. Like they know your stronghold, and they know, and like they in Mexico's here, it's more about what can that information do for me? Not necessarily I'm gonna use this information for the public good. So
Right.
like, you know what I'm saying? So it's more of a they know, they'll have all your secrets. They'll know this guy does this. They'll know that you're a dealer. They know if you're a money launderer. They know everything, but they're waiting for the shoe to drop. If they need it against you, or if they're going to possibly use it later on against you. Or but yeah, they do have, and the new guy that took over, the guy I was mentioning to you earlier, Omar Harfuch, the guy that they call Batman in Mexico. Here,
Yeah.
um, yeah, he's the president's like number two guy. This guy, and he has made he's even more famous for it now. He has like all the latest software too. So he's known for intelligence, for surveillance, and for doing all that stuff way more than he is for being like in The Wire, how they had those cops that were like just going down at the street corner and beating up anyone that they would see and just taking whoever off the corner. And then you have the other ones that would like take their time, get to know people,
Yeah.
surveillance, get they would know what's really going on, not just what they see. And that's
Right.
how this guy is. See, he's very like I'm not saying he's not corrupted or he's not, because there has been some allegations in the past against him, but this guy does have like a very 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 superior intelligence force in Mexico, because anytime they've done like some big assassinations against their like party or against their interests, they find them within the days. You're like that one guy, that Carlos Manso, the one that we were talking about the other day, that they killed in Urapan. Um, uh,
Yeah.
yeah, that one guy. Yeah, basically, yeah, the CJNG killed him. It's just because that where he was the mayor. He was the mayor of a city within the state that's owned by the CJNG. And the governor is owned by the CJNG. So naturally, he wasn't gonna last long. And they made the sad part is here they made some kid do the work, and he
Wow.
left. Yeah, he left a note at the end saying that he was like a 17-year-old kid, 18-year-old kid, I think. 17 or 19, something like that. He was young. But he's on video and everything, and but they have him on record, like he left a note as well. But you know how they could say anyone could write a note, but they're specifically confirming that it was from him, saying that that they obligated him to do this. That the only reason he did this because he has a daughter, and and he apologized to his daughter for how he was going to be remembered, because they killed him. They knew he was gonna. He's like, well, after I do this, the police are gonna kill me, or the cartel's gonna kill me, so no one knows that I did this. He knew he was gonna die because like they gave him the order to kill the mayor, and they know that they didn't want that getting out. So what do? It's like that one scene in Casino, right? It's always better with no witnesses, they say. Yeah. So yeah, before they killed him, he left a note, and he exposed the people that were gonna do it to him. And yeah, they killed the one of the guys they killed on the spot, and the other guy, I believe, they arrested him. Yeah, they arrested him down, and then after that, they arrested the main guy, the leader of the local, like you could say the captain, right? The capo of the group.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, what's the most dangerous place in Mexico right now?
Uh Most danger. I would say anywhere around Guerrero, Michoacan, which is that area I was telling you about.
Yeah.
See, Sinaloa right now, Culiacan for sure. Culiacan, Guerrero, Michoacan, um, parts of Sinaloa, Mazatlan. Eh, don't get me wrong, sir. Like you could still go to Mazatlan, just at nighttime. I wouldn't recommend going out nighttime. Like not to go out, but most dangerous parts for sure. Culiacan, the capital of Sinaloa right now. Um, the state of Sinaloa overall is pretty bad right now. Guerrero, which is another state. Michoacan, which is that state that Urapan, which is where the mayor was from. That state's pretty bad. Zacatecas is pretty bad too. That's where that place I was telling you about here, where I get the silver and all that stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Also, northern parts over here by which these areas have always been like known to be bad. Here, which is like places like Tamaulipas, like Matamoros, border towns like over here, like Laredo. Um,
So, Guadalajara, is that in Sinaloa?
no, Guadalajara is part of Jalisco. Guadalajara, it's crazy. Guadalajara is the next, like right now. That's the popping thing right now. It's here in Mexico. That's where everyone is going to right now. It's safe.
Oh, it's
Um,
safe now?
yeah. Well, the reason it's safe. See, it's crazy, right? You would think it's safe. Oh, it's because there's no cartel. No, it's the opposite. It's because it's the stronghold of CJNG. Yeah.
Oh.
Guadalajara is like their capital. Guadalajara is the capital of Jalisco. And Jalisco is the state, right? Guadalajara is like their capital, is like the city, and that's where CJNG's base is from. That's where the J in CJNG comes from. Cartel, no, CN Nuevo Cartel, el nuevo CJ Cartel Jalisco Nuevo Generación. That's what it is. I'm sorry. Yeah,
Uh,
Cartel Jalisco. That's where the J comes in. The Jalisco. Yeah,
uh,
and yeah. So Guadalajara is their strong base, their homeland, and that's where they feel safe. And honestly, it's very safe here, and for that reason, because just one area controls it. There's no what they call it, pelea de plaza. They're not fighting for it. There's no any problem. Well, they are your skirmishes, of course, or you have other people coming in and trying to make it hot. But no, they have that place on locks here. Like it's
but it used to be the most dangerous, right?
Yeah, well, Arjara used to be dangerous because at the early, this is when they were fighting for that process here. Because the CJNG, Mencho and all that, they used to work for the Cartel de Sinaloa. They used to be a splinter group, because it all used to be a federation. Think about it like the commission. You know how like the commission had like five families, and then you had the people from like Detroit, Boston, and you know
Yeah.
that's how the La Federación was, like a federation, like a conglomerate of like all the like the drug lords from Mexico. Like you would have the people from Tijuana, people from Sinaloa, people from um, Guerrero, people from Durango, from everywhere. The heads of like all the main places would get together, and they would agree, like, okay, the drugs, we're gonna get together on about that. We're gonna get together on the prices of
You cut off again.
and they get together, and that way everyone wins. They could charge the customer whatever they want because they control the market like a monopoly. That's
Okay.
what the federation, that's what the point of it was, that they would all get together. And at the time here, the Sinaloa cartel had an agreement with the DEA. Like they literally had an agreement with the DEA that they would turn in all the other people, the Zetas. um do you remember Amado Carrillo Fuentes, the guy that I told you about, the one that I
Yeah.
believe was the strongest? Whenever he died of a plastic surgery. See, he tried to change his face so he could disappear, but they ended up killing him in his surgery. That's what the main rumor was, that another cartel paid the doctor to like give him too much of anesthesia, and they say that he died in his sleep from he didn't react to the anesthetics. Some people say that they killed him with the anesthetics with the doctor, and they ended up killing the four doctors that operated him here and pulling and putting them in like wheelbarrows and all this other stuff. But
Uh,
yeah,
uh,
nonetheless, yeah, uh, the brother of once he died, the brother took over for they were called the Juarez cartel. That's who Amaro Carrillo Fuentes. He was the leader of the Juarez cartel, right there by El Paso. You have El Paso on the Texas side, and then you cross the border, and it's Juarez. That's where Juarez is, right there by El Paso, and that's where he controlled. And so when the Sinaloa cartel made an agreement with the DEA, it was to turn in all the heads of the other families, like the Madacarrillo Fuentes and all their people in Juarez, right? He turned them in. He turned the people in he told in the Golfo, Cartel del Golfo, which is the main guy was Ociel Cárdenas Guillín, which this guy was another ruthless guy. He's another POS that he was the one that got the setas. He's the one that bribed the military people out of the military and brought them into the cartels, and he made them the splinter group that they are until they got too strong, and they ended up like not listening to him no more because they're like, well, we're the muscle, we don't need you no more.
yeah.
Yeah, and yeah, and they basically took the plaza from him and left him in prison after, because he got that guy, Chapo, he betrayed a lot of people. That's why, well, him and his people betrayed a lot of people. And the reason he made an agreement with the DEA here at the time was that so he could turn in all those other people and take over their plazas, right? So what Chapo did, seeing and handling, they weren't stupid. El Mayo was the main boss, by the way. Here, he was the always the decision maker. El Mayo was always the one with the political connections and all this other stuff. Chapo was, don't get me wrong, he was a boss, like he was a leader, but it wasn't like he was like the head, like the CEO, and Mayo was like listening or no. It was always like think of it like you know how like they used to have a it's like factions here. You know, we think about it here. It's like all organization. Like it's like a group, a collection of like factions. Okay, it's like we got this group together, and we're all together, and we're called like the Sinaloa cartel. You know, my your group might be a little bit stronger, but the main leader was El Mayo. But anyways, here El Chapo did betray all those people, and basically turned them over to the intelligence. Right, gave them all the info, told them where all these people were at. Um, Once they got arrested or took over, then El Chapo would come in with the help, and since he had the Mexican government in his pockets here, with that one guy I was telling you about, Genaro Garcia Luna, the one that's currently in that Brooklyn prison, the ex main police in Mexico, since he had him in his pocket, he was using Mexican soldiers, Mexican police, and his own cartel people, El Chapo's own cartel people, to go into these plazas. And that's why the drug war started here. The drug war was started in order for the Sinaloa cartel to control all of the drug like plazas in Mexico. So when that started, like when Felipe Calderon declared the drug war, right? He he um he opened the floodgates to the war against the cartels. But basically what he did was making it to where so the public knew like, okay, hey, it's about to get nasty. So if you see people dying, this is that, it's for good. We're cleaning up the streets. It's a drug war. We're taking back our country. We're doing this for y'all. It was like that. It was pitched as that. But in reality, it was because El Chapo had bribed the government. The Sinaloa cartel had bribed the government, and accordance with the DEA was okay with it because they wanted control over the drug trades. They wanted to be able to um, not necessarily stop it, but to be able if they could control it. You know what I'm saying, Siri? Because they
Yeah,
know they're never going to stop it. You're not going to stop the drug trade. It's a human condition problem. Seriously, sir. It's an addiction problem. It's not like something that's black and white. You can stop it this day or another. If they really wanted to stop drugs, they can, by the way, but they don't.
yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, sure. And what he did, he basically turned in all the other heads of the Gulf cartel, the other all the other ones that he didn't that they wouldn't align themselves with him or basically bow down to the cartel of Sinaloa. Um, he took them out, turned them into the government, killed them, betrayed them, and took over their plazas or put other people in there to take over their plazas. And once all that happened, Chapo and the Sinaloa cartel, well, they won, right? They became the strongest in Mexico.
Yeah.
And one of those factions was where El Mencho. El Mencho was it's crazy here. El Mencho was just a security guard. Like he started as just like this, like as like a sicario protecting the Valencia brothers, right? He where he made his rise to fame was that he married into a family. He married into a family of money. Like his wife, Rosalinda, I think it's called Rosalinda Valencia, the Valencia family in Jalisco, Guadalajara, and all them. They're famous for like 30 years now for having like connections to drugs and all that. They're known for methamphetamine, like in Jalisco.
Uh,
They used to be El Azul. They used to call him El Rey del Cristal, the king of the crystal in Mexico. Yeah, because he used to make methamphetamine, and that was another way they made their monies here. Because again, they owned everything. They did since it's all synthetic, they wouldn't have to pay the Colombians or anyone.
yeah,
That's where El Mencho's rise came because once all these groups started to die, people started turning themselves in, and everything's here he turned that Sicario group of his into like an enforcement group for the Valencia brothers, which were his brothers-in-laws, and then slowly but surely the brother-in-laws get captured, got killed, and then he took over, and then he worked for El Chapo and El Mayo and all them as a security detail for many years, and then in 2012, 2011 they splintered off and they decided just to make their own group and they started just killing like setas, those people from the Gulf cartel I was telling you about.
yeah,
And
yeah,
yeah, that's where they became known as what me and your friend were talking about the other day as matasetas, which were like the killer of the setas. That's what they're famous for. And they had like a big following because people in Mexico hate the setas here. They look at them as like savages for because these people would like kill, rape, and they were horrible, horrible, horrible people here. Like just horrible people. And So a lot of that's how they got their like good standing with the people. And then next thing you know, they turned into a cartel, and they just ended up swallowing the state small by small. And then now, as of right now, here that's the biggest cartel in Mexico is CJNG. And
Wow.
yeah, and if they're helping the Chapitos and everything here and all that, it's because literally they want them to fight. They want Sinaloa to fight within each other because they know like they're going to be busy fighting each other. I'm going to be taking over the routes. I'm going to be taking over the business. I'm going to be taking over money laundering. The main
Yep.
stuff. While they're busy over there fighting over their father's lands. Like that's the thing right now. So these guys are a lot of the kids of the drug dealers are what's left, and they're fighting over their inheritances. They're fighting over the routes their fathers left them, and you know,
So what do you think's going to happen in the next year?
oof, that's gonna be going. The one thing here I do see or seeing like now that Trump's made it like a narco designation, for stuff. So you're definitely gonna see an increase in like secret operations, operative. You're gonna see like um if you do see captures or anything, here it's gonna be what they always do. Americans like on the American side, anytime there's a huge capture in Mexico here, it's because like the U.S. helped. But since they can't publicly say that, they'll give the credit to like one of the forces in Mexico. Like
Yeah.
yeah, that's like El Chapo's son, the last one. The government knew he was gonna kidnap El Mayo. Like they knew he was gonna kidnap El Mayo, but since they wanted El Mayo so bad, um, and then we could also go into a whole story one day here about how like the whole betrayal because they say right now that the Chapo Guzman's faction they betrayed the Mayo Zambadas and they betrayed them and they turned in the old man and this that and the other. But what a lot of people don't realize is here during the first drug war of like 2006, back when everyone was alive, on the same side. El Chapo was El Chapo, and Mayo was El Mayo. That's when they were at their strongest point ever. They had that drug war with the Beltran cartel, the Beltran Leva cartel, which was El Chapo's cousins. They were fighting over because El Chapo again betrayed his cousin and turned in one of the cousins in jail, right? And yeah. So once that war started here, one of El Mayo's lieutenants, Macho Prieto, they call him, he was doing like a checkpoint security roundabout in the city, right? And they had a curfew for the city that day. They had a 6 p.m. curfew. So the cartels in Mexico here, they literally have so much power they could tell the city, "Hey, we don't want no one outside at 6 p.m." and no one will be outside at 6 p.m.
What?
Yeah, and if you do show up outside, you better have a really dang good reason, or it's gonna be, if they catch you and they ask you, they're gonna, they'll, I mean, they won't kill you. They'll give you tablazos, they'll give you a spanking, they call it, like, but if they tell you there's a curfew, sir, there's a curfew, and apparently, one of El Chapo's sons didn't get the memo that there was a curfew in the city, and El Mayo's lieutenant, El Macho Prieto, him and his crew were that they were the ones designated to protect the city during the war because they were trying to protect against outside people coming in. The reason they had those curfews here wasn't to be pricks or anything. It was just because if they limit the people, like if they're on watch from 6 p.m. so forward, they could watch who comes in the city, and they want to
Exactly.
be control. Yeah, they want to control who can come in, sicarios coming in from the enemies, and all this other stuff. But what happened was that one of El Chapo's sons didn't realize, or he did, but he just didn't care that they had a curfew. He realized, he thought since he was a son, like they would just let him through, or this or that the other. And then and obviously since he was El Chapo's son, he had an escort with him, right? He had his own armed guards and everything. So these guys are patrolling around in a curfew and they see an armored vehicle, you know, they see this vehicle and then they see like people inside and it looks like they're armed. So they think, oh, it's an enemy cartel or something, right? And before they check, before they do anything, they get into a firefight with El Chapo's sons and his security detail and they kill him. So like it's great. A lot of people don't realize like they've already had their beef, but it was more of a like just waiting to do it to you. So like in effect, Sierra El Mayo's lieutenant killed El Chapo's son by accident. They were on the same team, same
Oh,
side.
shit.
Yeah. And then so he killed his favorite. Well, at the time they were saying that was his son, but everyone was saying that was his favorite son. So um they were saying he never forgave him, but he never could do anything because that was a Mayo. That was like almost like if it was his boss. Like that was like the one person he couldn't do anything to. So he almost had to take it, because he had his family there. He had other sons, other family. He knew if he went to war with Omayo, it was going to be bloody. A lot of other people would die. More sons of his would die, and other people would die too on the other side. But you know what I'm saying, right? So you're like, it
Yeah.
would have been bloody. So what did he do? He just bit it, took it, and he didn't even respond. He didn't even kill the people that killed his sons here because he thought about it, and it was like a calculated move. He said, "Well, they already killed my son. Well, the least I'm gonna do is send them as like cannon fodder." And he sent those guys to war to fight the other guys, and they ended up killing them eventually. But that just shows you how cold and calculated these people are here. Like even if you kill their son, like sometimes they could just be so cold and ruthless, or like they could take it and just wait to give it to you later. Like they're like, okay, I can't hurt you now, but I swear to God, one day I'm gonna
Yeah.
get you back. So like that happened like in 2008. Siri, do you think people are gonna forget that you killed their son?
Hell no.
You know what I'm saying, Siri? So like, if that happened in 2008, right? And then they were saying in 2014, El Chapo, when he got caught, that he was betrayed by Mayo and all that stuff, right? But yeah, and then so now, Siri, after so many years of like alleged betrayal from Amaya, right? That they were saying that he's the one that's been, because how is it that him and his family, some of his sons have been gotten captured, right? Here, but for majority of the part, they've been scot free. Like they if they do get caught, it's like a slap on the wrist, deals, nothing big happens. But El Chapo's sons, they make a big deal. You know how they almost shut down the city and all this other stuff, you know?
Yeah.
And yeah, and then so they were like, "Man, what the heck? Like this is suspicious. Like this guy, like nothing's happening to him, but all of it's happening to us." Like they added one with the other, and they're like, "Yeah, he's snitching or someone's snitching, and this is suspicious." So what did the El Chapo's oldest son do, Ivan Archivaldo Guzman? He no one can say he's not a stupid man, because in order to choke El Mayo here, like a lot of people don't realize, like El Mayo has gone to war with like everybody in Mexico's here and won. And like beat the government, beat parts of the U.S. government. Like he was like the one enigma to be outside of jail like 50 years, not and, like he was gonna die of old age in Mexico. That's what everyone thought. But since Ivan Archivaldo, Chapo's son, felt like he betrayed his father, he killed his brother, or in effect not had his brother killed, but his men killed his father, so they blamed him for the son's death. And for a lot of other stuff here. And then also the Raton, Ovidio Guzman, he was already surrendered and captured. They said that he was turned in too. And so they already had a lot of like pending vengeance, right? So they figured the plan, and they were like, here, they were like, all right, we're gonna get the governor. It's crazy. It's like a movie, seriously. Imagine that. The governor of a state having a political beef with like another senator or something, right? And they get together, and like the local crime, it'd be like if Carlo Gambino was to like mitigate or something, a feud between politics or something here. And then
Yeah.
at that meeting, he was to go and he was to get kidnapped by like, I don't know, by like Bonanno, or something like that, by Joseph
Yeah.
Bonanno or something like that. You would think like, what the crap? Like the governor's in on it, like, you know? And that's what happens here. That's what happened. The El Chapo's son made a deal with the governor of Sinaloa to turn in El Mayo, and that they were going to kill the other guy he had problems with. So he was going to like solve his problems and solve the other guy's problems. And yep, they captured him, and they told him that they were going to use him to solve their problems. And now both of El Chapo's sons are in like witness protection.
So Almayo was around before El Chapo?
Oh yeah, El Mayo started way back. He was a boss before El Chapo. El Chapo was a security detail for the main what's his name, Miguel Angel Feliz Gallardo, the original boss of Mexico. He was the one that started it all in Mexico, the one that organized there. He was like the Lucky Luciano of Mexico,
Oh,
literally. So he organized all of them together, made them into one conglomerate, made everyone into the like factions, like this controls this, like organized them. And then once he's the guy that was in charge when Kiki Camarena died, right? Rafa Caro Quintero was his
Yeah,
like
yeah,
his
yeah.
worker. Yeah,
So
but
what I
Miguel Angel Gallardo was the boss, right? And Chapo was always like his worker. And Mayo was always a boss. He used to work for Amado Carrillo Fuentes, the one that I told you about, the one that I thought was like the strongest one ever.
yeah.
Yeah, he used to work for him, just as a lieutenant. But Mayo's always was like almost more of an independent guy. He would pay his fees, like if he would use your routes and stuff, like if you go to Juarez, Tijuana. But where Mayo and his crew got famous, or where they made all their money and million, is in California, Los Angeles.
Oh wow.
Yeah. Yeah, I read it one. I said in this thing. He got his thing. They're saying that Mayo got where he went. He got where he got because he has connections to the CIA. See,
Yeah.
that started when he was like just low level in Los Angeles. His brother-in-law, how he got started in the game of Mayo was that his brother-in-law was this Cuban drug dealer from like Las Vegas, and he knew the ins and outs. He's the one that showed Mayo the game, like showed him everything. Um, the customers, how to deal, everything. Showed them how to impress people. Showed them high rollers, showed them Vegas when Mayo was like young, And there's is a Cuban guy, and then he was married to his sister. And then even later on, when the guy divorced his sister, because obviously he was like a playboy, and all them, but they still remained in business. That's how close they were. And yeah, that's how he got started. And he ended up Mayo went back to Mexico and he just started sending drugs up there through California through Tijuana. And he used to be really close friends with Arellano Felix guy, which were nephews of.
You cut off again, brother.
Can you hear me?
Now I hear you.
Okay, I'm sorry. Yeah, and then at the end, Miguel Angel Felix Gallardo did finally at the end make Chapo a boss. But in a sense, he gave him like his own little route. He gave him the leftover route just to be able to say that he gave him a route after all those years of like hard work and everything. There's this book that the guy that made it was he would go to prison and make the autobiography about this guy, but obviously he's not going to tell the whole truth, and so they add other stuff like from news clippings and all this other. But yeah, so it's crazy. But Mayo, he made his fortune through Los Angeles, California, and sending stuff to the East Coast as well, but mainly Los Angeles. That's always been his territory. And same with that's why he got in a war. That's the whole reason he ended up working with El Chapo, because he kind of used El Chapo as like a scapegoat. Like he would just use him as a scapegoat. Honestly, like he knew El Chapo had beef with the Arellano Felix from Tijuana already, so he knew El Chapo had some people with him. Like El Chapo, he always had like a following. He always had his cousins with him, the Beltran Leyva cartel guys that ended up later fighting against him. Those were
Yeah.
his guys. He always had a crew. He always had a crew with him. It's just that they weren't very smart. They weren't very organized. They weren't like very coordinated per se, right? But they had the nerve to do what they needed to do. So he basically came in and organized them, showed them what to do, took over, and then slowly but surely killed the Arellano Felix cartel, like the operatives. Him and El Chapo, but mostly it was his coordination of El Chapo's people. Honestly, that's what because a lot of the Chapo's people that were with him ended up switching sides to working with El Mayo. Um, but yes, here and they're saying that that's how he was able to stay in the game for so long because he had an agreement with the CIA, and
Yeah.
yeah, and
And
then yeah. Now at the end, right now, Sir, the Mexican government was on the side of the Mexican side was on the side of El Mayo, son, like during the Chapo war, like right now, the one that's going on. But
Yeah.
now it's up for grabs on both sides. Now that El Mayo, because it looked like the agreement was that once El Mayo was betrayed and kidnapped and sent over to the Americans, that the government basically gave him the ultimatum, like, hey, you keep your mouth shut about all the corruption that we have with you for the last 50 years you've been alive, and we'll support your son and his cartel and his stuff, or whatever's left over here. We won't go after him, right? But the son messed that up. He's just all the infighting. It's just gotten too personal this year. You know that sometimes some wars just get too personal. It's just
Yeah.
like there's no going back. Like there's no agreements. They like literally one has to go. It's gotten to that point.
Damn. So that's
Yeah,
gonna
they just bombed. Like the other day we were talking about it. They bombed El Chapo's mom's house, like
hurt.
with a drone.
That's sick.
Yeah, with a big aerial drone, like those drones that they would use in Ukraine and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, they would drop stuff like that, like on the house, and it just shows you. It just shows you, like, it's starting to change. The new players, and right now everyone's hiding, like the Chapitos and all them. They're not even in Sinaloa. They've had to hide in like areas from CJNG. Like some people say they're in like Jalisco. Some people say they're like over there by Nayarit. But they're having to hide in enemy territory. So, and you know how it is here. Anytime we've seen in the art of war, anytime history, anywhere, anytime you've had a help for outside help, it never ends good for you. You
I know.
always, yeah, yeah, he's gonna end up. They always end up losing. But since he didn't have a choice, it was either that or survival, you know, or death, or losing. But
Gee.
yeah, sir. I know. I'm sorry if I kept on going off
No,
subject, or
it's good. It's good. It's good.
Man, it's just a lot of this stuff, dude. Believe me, it's just been sitting in the back of my head. I've been waiting to talk to.
Ah, it's awesome.
Brother.
I'm loving it.
Yeah, brother. Of course, man.
So, I remember watching a documentary with Kiki, and I think they were called the DFS or something.
Yeah, the departamento federal. Well, is yeah, but it was the security forces on now. But back then, see, if you think stuff's corrupted now, it was way more corrupted back then, here, because back then you didn't have internet, you didn't have anything. Like people would know what you would tell them, like on the news. It was that easy back then. Like it wasn't really as hard as it is to hide stuff today. So back then, here they would give like those DFS badges and stuff out to the narcos. So like all the big drug kingpins, they would always have a badge with them. So anywhere they would go, here, they could just bring out the badge. Hey, I'm a cop. Let me through. Hey, I'm a this. Let me on this plane. Hey, I'm this. Like they always had a badge, that they worked for the government.
Yeah, one of the guys in the documentary, he had one of those badges, and he was saying when Kiki was getting kicked around and the CIA came, he said El Chapo was there. Does that make sense? You still there? I couldn't hear you.
Hey, I'm sorry, sir. I don't know why this thing went off, but yeah, I was talking. Yeah, sir, what you were saying about the you can hear me, right?
Now I can. Yeah, yeah.
Okay, yeah. I'm sorry. Yeah, but
Was El
yeah,
Chapo there?
yeah, the I would say I can't tell you 100% he was there, sir, but I can tell you it wouldn't. I would say he would be there. It wouldn't be like outside the realm whatsoever, because at that time, sir, El Chapo was a worker for Miguel Ángel Filo Gallardo. He was like his he I wouldn't say he was like a right hand man. No, he was like a doer. Like hey, I need this done. He
Yeah,
would send him and it would get done. He was a doer. Like he would get stuff done. And El Chapo, one of the main things that he would do for Miguel Ángel Felix Gallardo was back then they would just give him marijuana and move a lot of like marijuana and traffic of marijuana. But with El Chapo, he didn't get his rise, or he didn't get his position or anything until his boss got put in jail, and they finally made him a boss after so many years. But um, they always looked at him bad though. So you're like El Chapo, they always looked at him. That's why he always betrayed everybody, or he didn't like anybody, because they would always looked at him like content, like a worker, like Like you're not a capo, like you're not a leader. Like this guy's like a, like you know what I'm saying, here. Like they would just treat him
Yeah.
like he was like a worker. Like you're not a boss. You're a worker. Like what are you doing here? Like that's the attitude that they would give him.
Who was the one? Was it one of his sons, or was it him when they had him in the back of the uh, police truck or something? They were shooting at the truck trying to get him. Was it the son?
Oh, you're talking about the white van or
Yeah,
this white vehicle that was like getting shot at recently, and like it was like the was it like a bulletproof vehicle?
I know one of. I don't know if it was one of El Chapo's sons or it was,
Hmm. Yeah,
but
but was it recent? Recent
it
here?
wasn't.
Like,
It wasn't like this year, but it was
mhm.
not too long ago.
Yeah, and I know recently there was this one clip that came out. It wasn't El Chapo's sons, but those vehicles they were from El Chapito's side. They have those. They're called blindadas. But there's a video of it of like that the Mayo side would like post this propaganda, like saying that, oh hey, like yeah, look at your guys. Not even bulletproof vehicles can save you guys. Like that's
Oh,
how, like, that they would go down. But as in a video, the only thing I could think of El Chapo's sons like were the last time or anything was Culiacanazo, the first one, where Ovidio escaped after the oldest brother, Ivan, like blackmailed the military, shut down the city, burnt down bridges, like, or burnt 18 wheelers on bridges so no one can cross. Like, he shut down the whole city to get his brother. And another thing was that once that happened, well, the government obviously was embarrassed, so they had to do something, and then that's when they sent like thousands of military members down there, and that's when they got him like a year later. Um, but considering all that, see, one thing that El Chapo's sons have always done is like they've never been like afraid to like throw people under the bus. That's one thing I can't say that's not one of their strong points is loyalty to their people because
yeah.
yeah, they did that one guy dirty. His name is El Nini, right? El Nini was the main, he was like Archivaldo's the main security.
You cut off again, brother.
Sorry, yeah, he was the one here. El Nini, he was the one responsible for for the coordinations and everything of helping Ovidio escape that day. Like he was the one turning shit down in the city, basically. The
Uh,
Nini. Yeah, he was the one risking his life. He was the one on the radio. He was the one they got on wiretap on the radio. He got hot because of what he did for the brother, like trying to save him and doing his job. And because he did that, he got like popular and the fame got to his head. He started making corridos. You know who Peso Pluma is?
no,
But you've heard of him or no, sir? Peso
no.
Pluma, all these Mexican, these Spanish artists around here, they're like millionaires now, sir. But these guys, they all got famous from for playing corridos or playing songs, ballads, like for basically the cartel would pay these guys like money to make songs about them and like glorify them. So like this guy, every time he would escape like the city government, or every time he would like escape from the military, he would make a corrido. He would make a song. It would be like if someone like would escape the police or escape the FBI, and then make like a rap song about it, and it goes like number one on Billboard. Seriously, you don't think the FBI is gonna get mad at you, like
Of
like
course, of course.
yeah. So like yeah, this guy. Yeah, that's how Peso Pluma got famous. He got famous for making all those songs about those active people, like the cartel members. And
Yeah.
yeah, and yeah, and he actually Peso Pluma and a lot of them. That's why they're getting their visas revoked here because of their ties to cartels. And but yeah, that's why they're losing their visas and stuff to come work at in the United States because of that.
Wow, that's
Mm.
great.
But yeah, brother.
Has anyone got questions? That was a lot of good information.
Oh yeah, we didn't even really hit Hit the
Yeah,
gist of it. Right here.
we could call this episode 1.
Yeah, for real, brother. For real, man. You know I'm down for whenever.
Oh yeah, yeah. That
Seriously,
was
we could talk about anything too. So you're like, I know this is just like the Latin side, but dude, I could talk. We could talk about the New York side too. Like, I know my stuff about Costa Nostra. I know my even if it's other stuff too that we could talk about. Like whichever, man. Whatever, whenever day you need me, or if you ever just want to chill, talk, just let me know. And thank you, Kyle. Thank you for the good comments, man. Really,
yeah. Kyle's the best.
for everyone in general. But yeah, Kyle, he had some really good comments there,
Yeah, yeah. Kyle, he loves this shit.
for sure.
Yeah, we'll do a part 2 soon, definitely.
Yeah, no, sounds good, brother. Just let me know.
I will, brother.
Well, sounds good then. Boys, are we gonna go ahead and wrap it up here?
Yeah, we'll wrap it up, and I'll message you in a bit about the thing we were talking about before we came on.
Yeah, for sure, man.
All right, brother.
All right. You take care, sir, okay? I'll talk to you here soon.
Take care, John.
Yeah, you too, buddy. You take care. Thank you
All right.
guys. Thank you again for having me. Seriously. Thank you.
Anytime, brother. Anytime.
Later.
All right, guys. That was a lot of good information. Definitely we'll definitely get another one going soon. A part 2, or yeah, that was good. All right, guys. I'll see you real soon. Take care.